Howdy folks, it's Adriel the Hunting Gear Guy, and you are looking at a mad science experiment, or the Mossberg Blaze. This is a 22 semi-automatic rimfire by Mossberg, and it's got a lot of plastic on it. This thing is using plastic like it's going out of style, and we're going to explore where that made sense, where it might not have made sense, and some of the trade-offs and benefits of it. Now, in terms of what's in the box, it's pretty boring. You get your rifle, you get one magazine that's actually pretty cool, but we'll get into that later. And you get a trigger lock and some manuals and a bunch of other boring stuff. So I'm going to throw it off to the side here, and let's just get straight to the rifle. Now, starting at the back of the rifle here, we don't have too much here. We've just got this plain plasticky kind of buttstock. We've got a contoured butt here. This is still just plastic. And just in case you're wondering, this is just two sandwiched pieces of plastic. This is one side with all the screws on it. This is the other side with no screws on it. It's like a water gun construction kind of a thing. But let's just keep going here. We've got this nice grippy hand grip material here. Let's just zoom in on that. And you can see there that, yeah, it's got some grip to it there, so that will serve to provide some sort of a hold when you're in the rain and that kind of thing. Moving forward from there, right on the back here we've got this tang-mounted safety, and right now it's on safe, and there's fire. And you know, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. So there's again safe. There's fire. And it's very easy to use your thumb to actuate that bad boy. So nothing at all wrong with that. Our trigger here is plastic, and just in case some of you guys out there are wondering, we're empty. We have nothing in the mag here. We've got this trigger here. It's plastic. Once our safety's off, a little bit of grit there. You can kind of see. I can use my other fingers just so you can see that. There, it didn't give me any creep that time. Moving up from there, we have a magazine well. This uses somewhat of a rock and lock style, although the engagement surfaces are so like close to each other that it's very easy to rock and lock it in there. It doesn't take too much to get it in, and to get out you just need to push forward on this mag release. Let's get in on the action there. Push forward on that mag release, and then it's just going to kick it right out, and then we can pop it back in. So nothing at all wrong with that. That's holding it nice and secure. And this is all plastic again. We've got our plastic mag here, plastic release, plastic mag. Well, plastic everything. Plastic everything is what you're going to expect on this 22. Moving up from there, we've got this dovetail mounted on the top here. That's from the two halves that's kind of going along here. That's plastic. Our bolt handle, I believe, is metal, and our bolt is metal. So here's a couple of metal pieces that we've run into so far. This guy here has a lock back feature where you pull it back, push it in, and it'll hold. And what you're going to do is, once you pull that out, that'll let the bolt go forward. So back and in, and it'll hold. Pull it out, and it'll drop. In terms of hold open in the magazine and that kind of thing, once the magazine's in, and we're on our last round, it will hold open. If you were to release the magazine, the bolt will fly forward there. I think the idea here is that if it holds forward like that, you're supposed to realize it and say, oh, I gotta change my magazine, lock it back, pull your magazine out, change your magazine, put a magazine in there that has ammo, and then drop the bolt on it, something like that. So I think that's the idea behind this system. You know, with a 1022, it just goes forward and you just get a click. With a Marlin 795, it'll hold open even while you change the mag, and then you can do a bolt drop. This system is somewhere in between, I guess. Now, the next stop on our move forward on this rifle is the rear sight. And as you can see here, let me just zoom out here so you can see, this rear sight is really far forward. And this is not a lot of sight radius here. So accuracy is going to suffer just because you don't have that much of a sight radius, and you're going to have a little bit more room for error moving side to side. One thing I noticed when I looked through these sights, and I'm going to try to get a picture of this, is just how blocky they are. They're very square. That's actually a good thing. I kind of like that. You know, one of the things I was thinking about is this as a young person's or someone's first rifle, and having nice blocky sights is going to make it very easy for them to sight down the rifle and really get the fundamentals of getting those iron sights in place. And here you can see that blocky rear sight and front sight. And when those things are put over top of each other, they're basically two rectangles fitting in with each other. So it's kind of neat. Very easy to see. Now, one thing that's underneath this rear sight and is visible through here are these two, well, four actually, holes where you can screw in this cantilever scope mount. I think what Mossberg was thinking here was that this plastic isn't actually, you know, this plastic dovetail isn't really going to do the job when it comes to mounting a scope or something like that. So what they do is they offer both a rifle and the aftermarket add-on to add on that cantilever rail, so you can screw it in here and here, like underneath this rear sight, and that'll cantilever a proper, like a Picatinny rail over the rear here, which will give you all the mounting you'll need for a scope. Okay, moving forward from the rear sights, we've got this forend that's a little bit tapered that is very easy to hold in hand. This rifle, by the way, I haven't mentioned it yet, is super light. This thing's 4.7 pounds or something silly like that. So it's incredibly light. It's incredibly easy to hold. Part of that is it is a lot of plastic and not a lot of metal, so it is very light. It's got a very short barrel on it, so this is a very light rifle to hold, and the forend feels all right. There's nothing wrong with it. We've got another swivel stud up at the front here. Both of these are kind of these free spinning deals. They don't lock up or anything like that. They just kind of spin freely in there. So there's one at the front as well as at the back. And finally, at the front of the rifle, we have this screwed-on plastic front sight riser that's just screwed into the barrel there. So that kind of rounds out the rifle. This thing has a very short barrel. I believe it's 16 and something inches. So it's a very short, handy package. Now, moving on to some other features that might not be apparent in on this magazine here. It's a little bit big and bulky for a large size magazine, just in terms of like height and width and that kind of thing. But it's got a couple of interesting features. One of which is that you can grab these little posts here on either side and push down on the follower. And what that's going to do is make it very easy for you to load this thing. So I can push that guy down and then I can drop my rounds in. So you're not going to chew up your fingers loading in 22 rounds with this, which, you know, as part of making, you know, like shooting a 22 as part of a fun plinking away kind of activity. I really like this. I really like the idea of having this side guy here on how easy it is to load even the full magazine and all that kind of stuff. It's very easy to load, and I really like that for an entry-level rifle like this where you're just getting into it and you just want to plink away with some 22 and blow through 200 or 500 rounds at the gravel pit or wherever, right? Now, in terms of fit for this rifle, it is quite short, but it's very handy to hold and to point this rifle because it is so small and light. Putting in new magazines, again, you can one-hand this thing, no problem. And kids and ladies and all that kind of stuff are going to be able to hold this thing and manipulate it a lot easier than some of the other 22s out there that use a lot more steel in them. Putting the magazine, if you're used to the rock and lock, it's very easy. And loading it is also very easy. Just pull back and pull forward and away you go. It's got a fixed ejector in there, so it's going to push these out, and they're going to get flung as far as as hard as you pull back. So if you just pull one back just to kind of kick a round out, it won't kick out very far. But if you really rip on it, it's going to go a little bit farther. And again, it's going to lock open, and I think the idea here is that you're supposed to lock it back before you change that magazine. Pop your new mag in. Let's just simulate a magazine that's been reloaded with ammo here. Pop your new mag in, and then pull it and go for it, right? So one of the ugly sides of this rifle is the left side, and that's because, I don't know how well the camera's picking all this up, but there are 16 screws that are holding these two clamshells together, and that's how you disassemble it. So, one of the things I knew I wanted when I bought this rifle was to do a disassembly video, because I didn't see any of people going through the rigmarole. So for you guys now, I'm going to disassemble this rifle. Now for this first bit with disassembling this Mossberg Blaze, what we're going to do is make sure, A, that the rifle's empty. It's empty, I have no magazine. I'm on safe right now. Next, I'm going to make sure I have a parts dish, because I have a lot of screws that I'm going to be taking out, and it's not going to be fun. I have a number 1 bit on this. I'm not going to use this to drive these screws back in. I'm just going to use it to take them out, because, man, this is going to take a lot of time as is. Alright, now that we've got all those screws out, I think I've got them all out. There's a lot of them. We should be able to just pry this thing apart. There we go. There's our two sides. There's these little swivel studs that just kind of sit in there. I might just get you guys in for the glory here. So there's our two halves. There's the left half. Here's the right half. I'll show you guys better detail in just a minute here. Here's our ones. Okay, with these pieces apart, we should just be able to pull this top part right out of here and get this plastic stuff out of the way for now. And what we're left with here is the barreled assembly. So let's zoom in on this bad boy. Okay, we've got a plastic top, plastic sides. I think that's a metal bolt. I really think, yeah, that's a metal bolt. We've got a metal bolt there, and we've got our barrel. So let's go ahead and pull our assembly off the top here. There's our handle, that is metal. There's our bolt body, that's metal. We've got a recoil spring and recoil spring guide rod here. Looks like they're going in the left. Oh, you know what? That recoil spring guide rod here is also that fixed ejector. So just watch that front there. As we push in, it's coming out the side here. It's just kind of difficult to see from an angle without, and to be able to push it in quite a bit. So, you know, it's interesting. I don't even really know what I should be greasing and what I shouldn't be greasing, because this is metal on polymer, and that typically doesn't need oil. I'm not going to further disassemble this, but I just wanted to show you guys some of the different points on it. There's our barrel. That's what's locking our barrel on here onto this plastic here. So that is interesting. We've got that barrel locking mechanism that's working there, and we've got a fully plastic lower and upper here. We've got metal inside when it comes to our hammer. That guy is metal, and some of our different pieces in here are metal. But by and large, this is easily the most plastic I've seen in a 22, and that has made it nice and light, and it has makes it interesting at least. Alright, so I just fiddled my my way to putting this guy back on here. I've got my bolt handle back in. It's working. I do have to hold down on that part right here to do that, otherwise it will come off. But that is the quick and dirty of the disassembly on this thing. Okay, now to put back together, I'm just going to take this guy here, lay it in there. That feels good. Put these sling swivel studs on. And then I'm going to pop this guy over top. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take my screw gun and just turn it right down to wimp mode, just so I don't strip out these screws. Oh man, that took a long time. You know, 22s don't really come with easy disassembly like you would get on an AR-15 or anything like that, but this one's particularly brutal. This is like Mossberg took a page out of Kel-Tec's book or something like that. And after reassembling, rather, I'm going to function check with a dummy round here. Safety works. And positive ejection. So that does appear to work. So, you know, I wanted to give a real quick overview of this rifle just as is. I am going to break it in with hopefully 1,000 rounds or so. But again, I wanted to give you guys a quick overview. This is a new and kind of a new direction for rifles in general, just going with this amount of plastic. But you know, Glocks were controversial when they first came out by the amount of plastic that was in them, and they're the ruling pistol these days. So maybe this is the way that things are going to go, and you know, all the complaints about how plasticky it is are for naught. But we'll find out soon enough. So I'll be updating with another video on reliability once I've got more rounds through this thing. But thanks for watching.